I am a bartender here at DC9. I also bartend at Dodge City, and I also work at the Joseph Magnus Distillery in Ivy City. I am here today. Who lives in DC? Raise your hand. Who votes in DC? Raise your hand. Who's gonna vote in the June 19th primary? Everybody's gonna vote. A lot of people don't usually vote in those, so we are gonna need all of you to vote. This week, you all should have received one of these voter guides, right? Yeah. And you all are carrying them around in your bag, so pull them out right now and let's talk. What we're here to talk about today is initiative measure number 77. Has anyone heard of this? This is really, really near and dear to our hearts, and I just want you to know we are not here under duress from our owners. We are bartenders and we are servers, and many of us have been in this industry for a long time, and we're here because this is how we make money. This is how we can afford to live in a really expensive city and love it and be able to do all the things that anyone can do with a government job or whatever, but we do it by bartending or serving. I'm gonna do a really boring thing and read this initiative quickly so you know exactly what it says. And you can see why it's a little misleading. Initiative measure number 77, District of Columbia Minimum Wage Amendment Act. If enacted, this initiative will gradually increase the minimum wage in the District of Columbia to $15 hourly by 2020. That sounds kind of good. Gradually increase the minimum wage for tipped employees so that they receive the same minimum wage directly from their employer as other employees by 2026. The rest of it is kind of consumer price index bullshit, and that government employees will not be subject to this. So this is a simple up or down vote, yes or no. And I'm going to talk about why the way that this is worded is absolute garbage, and it could potentially close small businesses across the district and put us in a situation where we are unskilled labor and can't afford to live here. So a few quick and interesting facts about the hospitality industry in DC. There are 35,000 tipped workers in DC. Hospitality is the third largest industry, and around 96% of the bars and restaurants are small businesses, are independently owned, which is absolutely unbelievable and almost unheard of in the United States. We have kept this city small businesses, and it's incredible. It's something to be really proud of, and it's actually something that our council members should be really proud of too, because we're not, you know, Applebee's and Chili's and IHOPs. Some of those things do exist, and the workers that work there are just as important, but this city is an independently owned hospitality industry, and it's amazing. So I'm just gonna kind of attack the first part of this, that by 2020, minimum wage for everyone will increase to $15 if you vote on this referendum. Well, guess what, everyone? On June 7th, 2016, the City Council of DC already voted to increase the minimum wage to $15 by 2020. That's already happening. That's a great thing. It should happen. People need to make more money, but it's already happening. So why is it listed here? Because it's bait. That's exactly what it is. It's bait for you to say, I want to do the good thing. I want to check this box. Okay, this is the part that really affects us, which is gradually increase the minimum wage for tipped employees so they receive the same minimum wage directly from their employer. So what essentially this will mean, right now the way, which is a little difficult, who here has been in the hospitality industry before? Yeah! Our people. So right now what we use in DC, if you are a tipped employee, we use something called the tip credit. And if you just hear about the tip credit, you might be like, God, that sounds like shit, because we make $3.33 an hour. Also, that passed with the City Council back in 2016 was that tip credit will be increasing to $5 instead of $3.33. That's already happening. But what the tip credit allows is for us to make this base wage, and then tips have to get us up to minimum wage. We are already guaranteed an hourly minimum wage of whatever the current, it's $12.50 right now. It's gradually increasing to $15 by 2020. So we're already guaranteed a minimum wage, so it's a misnomer to think that we make $3.33 an hour and that's it. So we're already guaranteed this. If it's a shitty rainy night, we're gonna make minimum wage no matter what. So what this is saying is that our employers are gonna have to pay us $15, and then everyone's just gonna tip on top, and this sounds great, right? Like everyone's gonna make $15 an hour, we're gonna make so much more money, it's gonna be amazing. So states on the West Coast have happen, and everything's like better on the West Coast, and like import everything over to the East Coast. But basically, this is a small business killer. Some of the unintended consequences of this are going to be things which Sheena, or intended, but that Sheena's going to talk about. We're talking like 15 to 35% increase in price of goods, such as liquor. When you go to buy a drink, $2 to $3 more. Food costs go up, service charges at the end of the bill. This is going to be the loss of our livelihood. So I'm going to let Sheena talk about some of that. Thank you so much for letting us take this time, because the way that this reads is not what it's going to actually do, and governing by citizens initiative is absolute garbage. So thanks, guys.
All right, so my name is Sheena. I've been working in this industry for about 10 years in Columbia Heights, Petworth, now down here on U Street, Shaw area, and I'm going to talk about how they propose, or some suggestion that the Restaurant Opportunity Center, which is the people behind Initiative 77, are saying that we could make up for this money. So there is going to be an exorbitant increase in labor costs. Somewhere I think the number was around 400%, to go from $333 to $15 per employee. We're very small here, but if you think of other places where they have 6 servers on the floor per night, those costs go up, and they go up extremely. So labor costs go up, which means price of goods go up. Another way they're saying that we could do it is a service charge or a service fee will be added to your tab. Now, when you hear a service fee is added to your tab, what do you think? Tip. You think it's a tip. It's like, oh, gratuities included, or a service fee of 20%. That's not going to go to the workers. That is literally going to go to the owners, and that lets the owners decide how they're going to do it. Are they going to use it to make up for labor costs, or are they going to give it back to the tipped employees? As we all know, not everyone is honest. So they could say, oh, we're going to give this back to our servers. It may not come back to us. It may come to us. With the costs going up, like Janai said, the cost of beer, cost of food, all of that is going to go up. The average person, when they go out and they see a service fee and then the prices have also rise, they're assuming, okay, I hear in the news, they're getting paid more money. I don't need to leave a tip, or I'll leave less tip. It's already your choice to tip. Tipping is not mandatory. You either do it or you don't. The people who don't tip now won't tip later after this. That's not going to make a big difference, but it's going to make a difference to us. So with the labor costs going up and how that's going to work, another aspect is shifts are going to be cut. The number of employees are going to be cut. So normally where you'd have 2 bartenders and 3 servers, you're going to go down to 1 or 2 servers, 1 bartender. The people working in the back of the house, ROCs, it says that they're working for the workers. They're here to support the workers. An increase in cost on a small business with razor-thin margins is not going to be able to give steady raises to the back of the house kitchen staff, where they don't get tips if they have to make up for these enormous costs for front of the house. What that leads to also, less people have jobs, people are out of work, not helping the workers. And then the final and worst case scenario is places closed. DC, like Janai said, is 96% independently owned. If we can't afford to pay staff, pay back of the house, and pay bills, we can't stay open. So if you guys want an influx of chain restaurants and bars and everything that looks like John Taffer designed it and then just stuck it in DC, then sure, go ahead and vote yes. But if you care about keeping it small, keeping it independent, keeping it locally owned and right here at home, please, I beg you, vote no.
And now for something completely different. I'm going to talk about sexual harassment, because that's another big flagship. I mean, it's like yay for talking about it, but I get where you guys are coming from. So one of the big flagship reasons behind ROC's initiative is that they say that paying us all the same wage is going to get rid of sexual harassment. Bear with me, I've got a theory here. The only way to get rid of sexual harassment is if you feel like sexually harassing someone, don't fucking do it. It's that easy. So we call bullshit on that. Sexual harassment happens in every industry, and it happens everywhere. I actually feel way safer being at work. Even when I work security here, I feel safer behind the bar. I feel safer working security than I do walking from the metro to work. Because in here, nobody's going to tell me that they want to lick my back, and if they do, they're getting cut. So, the founder of ROC at a celebrity-hosted Time's Up Summit at the Tribeca Film Festival, her name is Saru Jairaman. She kind of put her disdain for us best. In her words, ultimately, we have to ask ourselves who gets to determine whether women are forced to essentially sell themselves to earn tips to feed their families. Time is up. So I take issue, the women who serve and bartend for you take issue with this rhetoric that we are selling our bodies in order to make a living and selling ourselves. To compare what we do to sex work is disrespectful to both the restaurant industry and the rights of actual sex workers. The presentation of women who are tipped workers as meek and fearful is false, and it is offensive, and it robs us of our own agency. Being paid one single wage is not going to magically convince anyone who wants to sexually harass a server that they should lay off. Nobody's going to think to themselves, well, she's being paid a living wage now, so I'm not going to talk about her boobies. If the ROC is so serious about fighting for the rights of women, then they need to come and actually speak to the industry class instead of speaking over us. That's modern feminism 101. But from the very start, this nonprofit has enjoyed success solely because they have time and time again gone behind our backs without ever asking us what is best for us. So here's the bottom line. We feel that the ROC is trying to fix a problem that doesn't quite exist, and in terms of fixing the tip credit. And it's far too nuanced. It's a small business killer that ignores the nuances of this industry in this particular city. We are very small. We are unfortunately not a state. We are bordered by 2 other states that are not going to be affected by this sort of thing, except for perhaps increased business when you come to DC9 and you don't want to pay $6 for a natty bow. Their mission has changed campaign to campaign and city to city. They either speak about destroying tipping as a system completely or $15 an hour plus tips. So we really just want to know, which is it? Don't just take our word for it. Please, you're going to find so much variation and opposition and even support for this by speaking to actual tipped workers, because it's our livelihoods that are at stake here. If you do a simple Google search, there have been excellent op-ed pieces that are very fair to both sides of the argument, especially Washington City Paper, Washington Post have done really, really good pieces in the last few weeks about how this is going to affect DC businesses. Please speak to us, because we really, I can't just say believe, we know that we are the only ones who know what is best for our own industry and our own livelihoods. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you. And by all means, I'm terrible and I left mine at home. You're going to see a lot of those buttons. She has an extra one. Amazing. We also have signs if you would like to take it. We have signs if you want to put it in your front window, please do that. If you do not live in DC, you definitely have friends who vote in DC, so by all means,
pay bar tabs in DC.
Pay bar tabs in DC. Post on Facebook, talk to your friends who vote here, and if you live in DC and you haven't registered to vote in DC, do that.
Keep it going, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful. Spectacular. Thank you, folks. Okay, we are going to take a brief 12-minute break, drink heavily, tip so much, because now you know why, and we'll see you back here in about 12 minutes. Bye.